Alright, so it's been about 4 years since I filmed any progress on this. You know, had a couple kids in that time period. I've been kind of busy. But what we're going to do today is I'm going to be putting in some oil-based grain filler. What this is, I'm going to be putting this in to fill in any of the grain in here before I put on a sanding sealer, primer, and then paint. The ultimate goal with going through all these steps is to give your guitar, you know, a mirror-like finish, a glass-like finish when you actually put that paint on. And this is, I believe this is like a 2003 made in Mexico Fender Telecaster. I got this from a buddy of mine for $30. He had initially tried to take off all the paint by hand. He got pretty tired of it, so he sent it to me. I took the veneer off, and I've been working on this, like I said, for about 4 years. I haven't picked this up for quite a while. So what I just did a moment ago was I had sanded this down. I'd already put one coat of this Old Masters oil-based grain filler on there, and this stuff's pretty good. You can get it on Amazon. This is not a plug, I'm just telling you where I picked it up. I already put one coat of this on there, and then what I did was, you know, after I went through the process that I'll be explaining to you, I sanded this with 180 and then 220. And so what we're going to do now is I have some mineral spirits, some naphtha right here. Get this at the hardware store. I'm going to wipe the body down with that, and we're going to let it dry for a moment, and then I'll come back and we will put on the grain filler. So this step is important. It's just to make sure you're getting out any oils that might have built up from when you were working on it. You know, I was touching this with my hands, so you don't want any of that in here before you get to work. So you just dampen a rag, you know, and just do what I'm doing right here. I just kind of rub it in, and this is quick drying. Now, real quick, real clear to everybody out there, if you're going to be doing this, I'm in a well ventilated area right now, and the air is moving through here, and you should be wearing a ventilator as well. I have mine off at the time being because I'm talking, but when I get to actually putting the mineral spirits on, when I get to putting on the grain filler, then I'll definitely be wearing a ventilator. Alright, so see, you can just see, nothing fancy here. We're just wiping it down. Alright, here we go. We'll just wipe the back. And as you can see, there's still a good amount on my rag. So, there we go. So if we flip this thing over, it's probably going to be almost dry in the front. Yeah, you can see here it's drying. So what we're going to do, we're going to let that dry for a moment. That's the first part of this, and then we'll come back. Alright, so the naphtha is dry, the mineral spirits are dry. What we're going to be doing now is putting the grain filler onto the body of the guitar. Now, how I'm going to do it is I'm just going to put on rubber gloves, and I'm going to rub it all into the body here, alright, on the top, the back, the sides. And then what we'll do after that, and I'm going to show you this, is after about 15 minutes, it should be kind of sticky to the touch, but not so much that you'll pull the grain filler out of the wood. We're going to take a credit card, and this is an old one, so, you know, who cares if you see it, and we're going to scrape across the grain. And we're going to, what that'll do is two things. It's going to pack the grain filler into the wood, and it's also going to get off all the excess, really excess grain filler, so that when it's time to sand this tomorrow, we're going to let this dry overnight. When we sand this tomorrow, it won't be as hard to get off all of the grain filler that's come to the top, right? So what I'm going to do for putting this on is I'm just going to show you this in a time lapse. I think it'll be a little faster. Yeah, and that's really it. So you just dump it on, you go with the grain with your gloves on, and we'll go from there. All right, stand by. It's been about 15 minutes or so. It feels like I could probably start scraping this off with the credit card. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a swipe just real quick to show you how it looks here. I'm going to get up close, and then again we'll do a quick time lapse of me doing the entire thing. Alright, so again, like I said, I'm going to be going across the grain. Alright, so just hold it at like a 45-degree angle. And what you do is you just pull it across the grain of the guitar. Alright, so again, here we're just going to come across this way, just so that you can see it. And what you're working to do is just get the majority of this stuff off, because if this hardens overnight and then you have to sand that off, that's going to be a real pain in the butt. Alright, so just stand by. I'm going to do a quick time lapse of this. I'm going to get all this off, and then we'll talk about the next steps. Well, that was it. I scraped off as much of the excess grain filler as I could. Basically, you kind of want to check for when you're doing a pass that you're not pulling off a ton of extra stuff. And when it kind of subdues, then you know you're pretty much on point. Now what I'm going to do is, well, whoops, there's some extra grain filler on here. I obviously did not clean my area well enough. But what I'm going to do is just set this up on something tonight, just kind of elevate it a little bit and keep it off the ground and let it dry overnight. And then what I'll do is come back tomorrow and I'll sand this down. I'll use 180 and then I'll get it nice and smooth, kind of scuffed up, and then I'll come through with 220 and we'll make sure that we don't see any more grain filler spots. And since this is the second coat, technically we should be good to go after that to move on into the sanding sealer part. Alright, so tune in. I'll be back with that sooner than this one. It shouldn't take 4 years before I get back. And yeah, thanks for watching.